Oh, there's Kathy. Hey, Kathy, looks like you made it. We're getting ready to launch here. Just one more minute, waiting for the launches here. There we go. There we go. Speaker view. There we go. Okay. We're live on YouTube, which is as live as we get. How you guys doing today? Roger's doing good. Glad to hear it. Almost Express certified. Anders, welcome. Joanne, welcome. So I'm Bill Gross. This is our Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, probate real estate mastermind meetup. We get investors and wholesalers who come across some probate problems, questions. We get some realtors who want to get into the business of probate real estate. Realtors are active in it to share some best practices and what they're doing. Sometimes we get vendors, escrow title, sometimes attorneys. Varied group of people. And so it's 4 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and launch and get started. So, and I will say that anytime if you have a question, raise your hand, jump in audio and interrupt, put it down in the chat box. If you're on YouTube live, there's a live chat. I'm watching that as well. I love to answer questions. The goal of this call is to be real with the business. I'm not selling coaching. I might someday. I'm not selling data. I work with various companies and refer you to the one I think will be best for you. I'm a real estate broker. I sell houses. I help people sell houses. I help investors buy and sell houses, make money. I help people who have problems with probate sell the house that they want to get rid of. I do it every day, and I build a real estate team. Though I'm not here recruiting on the phone call. I'm really here just to help people. My first coach was Zig Ziglar, 1989. I studied with him in just outside Dallas in Carrollton, Texas. And my coach Zig used to say, you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. And I really believe that probate is an opportunity to be a service to families that are trying to keep generational wealth intact, not spend it all on court fees and attorneys. It's also an opportunity for people to make money selling property, buying property, flipping property. And so I try to focus on helping people. That's the purpose of this call, is obviously I can talk to more people at once. I can help more people at one time. So that's what I do. I host this call on Thursdays at 4. I have a call on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Also live streamed. It's a Zoom call. It's on Eventbrite. And there we talk about purely investing in Los Angeles, outside the state, multifamily. And we're launching a new multifamily call on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. So we do a couple different things. And I think eventually we'll have a channel of different topics in real estate. But for now, today it's about probate. I just want to share with you an interesting story. So when I say probate real estate, describing my personal business, the truth is I think of it more as legal real estate, because in the course of probate, I meet attorneys. I feel like I really relate well with attorneys. My father was an attorney. I was pre-law in college. A lot of my clients were attorneys. So I used to go to Stanley Moss Courthouse, downtown LA, every day. Watched sales, watched business go on. And I would prospect while I was at the court. In fact, there's 11 different ways to make money in real estate as a real estate agent in probate. One person has their hand up. I'm not sure who that is. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, that's Joanne. Okay, Joanne, I'll ask you a question. Let me just kind of finish the story here and we'll go to you. I used to go to court every day and try to meet people. And I discovered that downstairs at Stanley Moss on Wednesdays were sheriff sales. Sheriff sales are not like sheriff sales in other states. Here, they're only what are called judicial foreclosures as opposed to administrative foreclosures. Administrative foreclosure are trustee sales. Those are typically done at Norwalk. Used to be in the county courthouse steps. Now they're done at a hotel across the street and other courthouses. But that's a deed of trust that's being foreclosed on by the trustor. Sheriff sale is when somebody can petition the court to force the sale of a property by the county. The sheriff's department is one that holds the auction and effectuates the sale. most commonly, somebody loses a court case and owes somebody millions of dollars, doesn't want to pay them or can't pay them other than the equity in their house. They don't want to sell the house. So one party gets the court to agree to sell the house at a sheriff's auction. There's only about 10 of them a year in Los Angeles County, but gets them to force the sale of the property. And it's very different. It's very complicated. And I don't make it sound like I'm all that, but I went there to every one for a couple of years, so I learned more than anybody. What I realized was nobody knows anything about these sales. Not even the attorneys that do most of them, not even the sheriffs that run them knew the rules. And these are knowing the rules can be the difference between getting and not getting the property. So I was at a sale last year, and I kept in touch and kept in touch and kept in touch. And finally the seller said, yeah, we'll let you, because there's some nuances on how to sell these properties. You can't just sell a sheriff sale property on regular retail. You have to know what you're doing. And I told the attorneys, here's what I do. So we got it. We went through the steps. Nobody mentioned along the way that while half the property was owned by this guy who wanted a sheriff sale, the other half was a probate. Now, they got lucky that I know the rules of probate. And I went to them and I said, look, even though you have I checked the letters, you can have full authority or limited. That's a whole class, but either you need the court to approve the sale or you don't, limited or full. And they had full. So I said to them, I realize you have full authority, you don't need court approval, but you probably are going to have to file a 15-day notice of intent to sell the property. Not that you need to legally to satisfy the judge or the court, but you'll need to because the title company won't insure the sale without it. Even though you can be right about something not being needed legally, and often attorneys are right about things legally, but what they're wrong about is, doesn't matter how right you are, if the title company won't insure your property, you're not selling it. Period. Ain't gonna happen. Buyer's not gonna get a loan, they're not gonna buy your house. So I told them, I said, look, you got to file this 15-day notice. The other party was given notice, 15-day notice, and we had proof of service of the notice. But not only do you have to give the notice, you have to file the notice so the title company can say it's public record before they close. They said, well, when do we have to do that? I said, well, really, you just need to do it the day before you want to close. So we're going to close on a Thursday, file it on Thursday at 4 o'clock. So the title company is good, and they'll record the documents 5 o'clock, not 8 o'clock the next morning, and we're done. Because what we don't want to do is what? Who knows what you shouldn't do? File it early. Everybody know the answer to this one? You want to file it early because now the objector is going to file a complaint, and then he's going to hold up your sale. He's going to have leverage at that point. So they were arguing with me. We don't need it. We don't need it. I said, look, here's my title underwriter. Here's another title underwriter from another company. They may not need it legally. You might be right, but they're not going to insure your file without it. Sure enough, they agreed with me. Sure enough, we filed the thing online on Thursday. Friday recorded, we're done, closed. Everybody got paid. And the moral of the story is the attorney, I called them and thanked him and who referred me. There's actually 2 attorneys involved, as well as a customer. And one of the 2 attorneys said, hey, call me next week because there's another property in this estate that we want to sell, which I knew they had. And I know I do a great job for them. And I felt like I earned it through this file. So the moral of the story is do your job, know the rules, know not just the law if you're an attorney, but you got to know the rules too in working with your vendors. I work with Laura's Title. I work with Kevin Sales, great title rep, knows the rules, knows the process. Will run interference for me ahead of time, tell me what we need to do. So it's important to be on a team and to know these things so that you can give the best service to your clients so that you also get repeat referral business. So there's my probate story on filing the 15-day notice, not just serving it, but also getting it filed because the title company needs it before you close. Joanne, you patiently waited with your hand up there. I don't know if you're giving me a high five. We have a question, I think.
Yeah, I do have a question. I was searching through the MLS and I was just looking at different areas. And I ended up in Pasadena and I was looking specifically at homes, probates that require court confirmation. Mm-hmm. And I ran across this one particular one And of course, it has pending on it. And so my first question, if it requires court confirmation,
Mhm.
shouldn't it be active under contract? Because on the court confirmation hearing, there's always a possibility that somebody is going to be in court and they may want to bid. That's the first one. The second question is this. You know, I was trying to get a feel of how agents really write in the remarks and the contingency. And this particular listing, it says buyer to be aware that this is a decedent's probate estate, which is good. Well, I kept reading and it said buyer to be aware that seller has not yet been appointed administrator and any acceptance of an offer and completion of the sale is subject to her appointment as administrator with full authority under the independent, well, actually the IAEA. My question to this is, can you legally list a property? And that person and the PR has not yet been appointed by the court to be the PR and place it in the MLS?
Okay, so two great questions that I wish I could. I need to write them down and create a frequent question list. These are two great questions that get asked. Put your hand down if you would, Joanne. It's kind of weird the way the picture looks off to the side there. I can't tell if it's you or somebody else because the picture's not over the hand's not over your picture. But anyhow, thank you. So first question she asks is, I see a property in the MLS that needs court approval that shows as active, maybe active or active under contract or pending. Which one did it say? Do you remember?
Pending.
Oh, it said pending. Okay.
Yeah, pending.
So the question is, what's the right status? That's more, one question is, what's the right status for an agent to comply with the MLS requirements on the property? And then there's another question is, well, how could it be pending or how can it be active or active under contract if it's still court approval? So what I'll say to you is, I've called the MLS hotline. They're not definitive. I've read the MLS, at least my MLS, guidelines on statuses. It's not clear if it's waiting court approval or not, to your first question, what the right status is, whether it be active, active under contract, or pending. You can make a case for any of the three. It's in a contract, but the contract is basically meaningless if you're willing to pay the list price and the list terms. The list price would be the overbid, right? And that's one of the things you need to do.
Mhm.
You have to adjust the list price to the overbid amount, or technically now you're in violation because if you showed active and it's not at that price, an agent can make a case, hey, I delivered to you the offer you wanted, you owe me a commission. Nobody ever does that, but that's a possibility. Or should show in MLS we have active under contract, or do we show as pending? And I've talked to MLS and they left it in my court. I've talked to my broker. I'm with EXP. We're one of the largest brokers now in brokerages in California, largest single office, I guess. And they didn't have any guidance on how it had to be. So I've taken the practice of making it active under contract,
Mhm.
and the price being the minimum overbid price with the proper notations, with the court date information, and that's requiring overbidding. And then once the court has confirmed the sale, I'll change the price and put it pending at that time, because now your price is public record and your pending has all conditions are clear. Normally, we show a property as active under contract when there's contingencies. We're supposed to change it to pending when all contingencies are cleared. So in my mind, the most accurate way to describe that is active under contract, waiting court approval. And then once the court approves it, it should show as pending. Do all agents show it that way? Well, no. And some do it on purpose because they want to generate leads off their listings. Others do it on purpose because they want to dissuade people from offering on the property. So that's why I look at those and try to find those opportunities. And I would say that's probably true for all realtors in all markets, not just LA. LA probably used to get away with more. I should say agents got away with more in the past because the properties are spread out amongst multiple county courthouses within LA. and nobody's really watching the whole thing. Now it's all in one place. It's easy to catch people trying to slide one through. But there is a lot of confusion over the proper status from a realtor's point of view. When you have a sale, but it's not yet confirmed, what's the right status? I've seen active on a contract, I've seen pending. And the MLS is not enforcing it. They're not going to call it a violation. And our brokerage is unclear. I believe the best practice is once you have accepted initial offer, active in a contract, once the court approves it, it's pending. And once after a contract, it should be for the minimum overbid amount. And then the pending, you can change it to the actual amount at that point. Does that help? That's my opinion. Now, Joanne, what's your opinion? You're an agent. You looked at these things. What do you think it should be?
It should be active on the contract because
Until
that's the way. And the reason being is that you haven't gone to court yet. And
just to clarify,
and it has not been confirmed at court. So it's like anything goes. So anybody has the right to walk in and overbid on there. So in other words,
well, you can make a case. I can make a case that active in a contract is misleading because it's not really under contract. At the price, at the minimum overbid price, is not under contract. Anybody can buy it.
Okay.
Right. And so I'm not saying you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually agree with you in practice. I actually, because I want to be as clear as I can to any agent looking at it or any prospective buyer or seller. My guiding principle is what's ethical, what's legal first, then what's ethical, and try to be as clear as you can. But again, I would just say to you, I wouldn't say somebody who left as active is wrong if they have the court information in it and the list price is the minimum overbid.
Mm-hmm.
But if they leave the price below the minimum overbid, then that's just misleading, right?
Yeah.
But I see agents do a lot of wacky things every day. I'm going tomorrow because there's a couple of wacky things that should be done. So that's the way it goes.
And the second question?
Second question. So this is a really interesting question. The second question she asks is, I see a property listed for sale and it says right in the listing that the listing agreement isn't technically valid, legally valid or binding because the person who signed it wants to be approved to represent the estate, but they're not yet approved to represent the estate. So technically, they have no more rights than anybody else does, or I should say legally, they have no more rights than anybody else does to sign a listing contract. I can sign my own listing for your house, and it's not going to sell. And in fact, I can tell you that when I went on to Paul Horn's probate training class, Paul Horn is one of the most prolific and well-known attorneys in LA and Orange County. And he did the certification class on probate for the California Association of Realtors, or CAR. He actually encourages this practice in his training, on the official CAR training. And one could say then, therefore, CAR is specifically authorizing this procedure, where you meet with a state, and as long as I can see the argument, as long as I disclose to any potential agent, and in fact any potential buyer, and in fact and as well as the seller, of course, that it's not legally binding. But on the flip side, I would say, but then what are you really doing? You're kind of potentially wasting the buyer's agent's time and potentially wasting the buyer's time, right?
Right.
Because you might think you're going to get it, but it turns out your brother, he wants to be the executor and he doesn't want to list with your realtor, he wants to list with somebody else. And so I think that's one of those things that agents push for because it seems like a shortcut or a kind of sneaky way to get some business. I've done it and tried it, and I can say from experience, I don't like it. I don't think that's really the way we're in business. Now, in defense of those agents, sometimes you're talking to some of these people for 3-6 months because they had to wait to get their court date. Maybe the paperwork wasn't done right. There's some minor technicality. It's the only thing that stopped them from being approved. You have a lot of time, effort, energy, money in. The seller wants to use you. They're committed to using you maybe. But I did it right away when I learned about it. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it today. I'd rather say to the administrator, you know what? If you don't want to list with me in 2 or 3 months, you don't have to. And I certainly would put in the MLS. Now, what I might say is, would you like me to try to show the property to friends and family? And also, I host a Zoom call on Tuesday. Would you like me to show it to potential buyers of your property and get the word out there? Would you like me to put it on the internet, my Facebook? I have this property coming on the market soon to try to get buyers. And they're going to say yes. And I would go that. But if it's a stranger who I'm worried somebody else will list the property instead of me, I don't need the business that bad. I'm busy. I really am. I have a listing agreement to write up. After this call, I have another call from 5 to about 5:45 or so. So I think if you work hard and you get in business, you don't have to find a way to sneak that one by. I don't like that. Now, let me ask you, Joanne, as an agent, what do you think when you read it?
I thought that the listing agreement would be invalid because the court had not appointed that person as the PR. And I don't know, if I would even suggest the property if I had a buyer for the property. It's a beautiful property,
Right.
and it's located in Pasadena. Now, the only time that I think I would consider doing something like that if the person was an only child and there were no other relatives or anything. But other than that, I would have to wait. I just don't feel right if the court has not appointed that person as the PR. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I just simply call back in a couple of months or a couple of weeks and say, hey, are you ready to list with me? And this is what I have to offer as far as marketing your home and everything. I just don't feel right doing it because legally that person is not the PR.
Yeah, I mean they're not, and I think you end up perhaps taking people waste their time. Buyers. I know that people want the property. They're gonna call and it makes the buyer's agent feel stupid because he's gonna call and tell them it's not really in the market, but it's in the MLS. It's on Zillow. It must be real. It's difficult. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't. I've seen that done. Like I said, I saw Paul Horn prove it. I think that if you're with EXP, I think it's something where they would let you do if you disclosed everybody. But and maybe in the MLS may or may not. I don't see how they do, but I'm not on the board, so I can't really make that decision. I wouldn't do it. I just don't. And when you say it's only one error, yeah, if it's one error and it's my cousin, I still don't think I would do it. I think I would say, let's just wait till we get the letters and we'll put the MLS in. Your listing will be hot. Why? What are we really saving here? We're gonna save the 17-day contingency period. We're gonna save 3 days of marketing time. Like, why would you go through the process? What's that really do for the buyer at the end of the day? Right?
If I was the buyer, there would be this big umbrella of uncertainty.
Right.
Hanging over me, and I have just moved my money, my 10% into escrow. And so now that money is being held up. That's why I looked at that and I I did a double look at that. And I felt funny, reading it. I didn't feel comfortable reading it. And I couldn't do it as standard practice.
I'm with you. I don't see it. Anybody else on the call have a different opinion? Anybody else on the call as far as why they should do that? Anybody do it before and have a good experience? No? Okay, well, there you go. I don't know what I'm on the same page with you. Like I said, I couldn't believe it when I first saw Paul Horn describe it. I didn't really believe that's what he would teach. Now he's an attorney, a smart guy. I'm not questioning whether he's right or wrong. I'm just saying from a salesperson point of view, I don't like the practice at all. So there you go. Okay, Joanne, 2 great questions. Thank you. You get the star. You're the star guest of the day today. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Excellent. Who else has a question we can help with today? Anybody? No. And Joanne, you're in the Valley. Where are you located again?
I have a question, Bill.
Okay, sure.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Who is this?
So update on my probate. I got a call from title saying that they're not going to insure the deed, and their reasoning, in a nutshell, the property when the deceased passed away was in a trust. We can't find the trust. The person who designed the trust passed away 10 years ago. It's gone. It's just lost and couldn't be found. And so title is saying, and keep in mind, we have the letters of administration, and they were abreast of all of this and still administered him with full authority. He's pro per. So despite of that, they're saying that no, well, we want the petitioner to go back to court and have them grant him successor trustee of the trust, and then we'll insure it. And my argument to that is, why is that necessary? The court's already ruled in his favor, considering all of that, and granted him full authority. So, yeah, so now I have to search for another title company because they're like, we're not insuring it.
Who's the title company that you worked with?
It's Fidelity. I mean, I'm not going to mention his name because it's not his fault, but it's Fidelity.
So, a couple things I'll say about title insurance. One is, I work with a pro in title, a guy who literally wrote a book on title insurance. Literally wrote a book. So, I'm sure that guy's good. He probably brings you nice coffee cups, maybe buys you some donuts or something once in a while. Maybe in the old days, those guys would buy you Dodger tickets. In the real old days, they'd buy you suits. I'm the end. Just close my freaking deal, and I'll buy all my own stuff. Thank you. Shameless plug for my coach. I wrote a check to join his coaching company, Kevin Sales. He has Probate 101 and Probate, I think 201 for it's not free because he's an expert. This is his area of expertise. There's only one title company rep that I've seen in my career who gave classes at probate court in Los Angeles in front of, 100 attorneys who paid money to hear him and gave them credit for continuing ed. That's Kevin Sales, Lawyer's Title. So, I'd run it by him. Now, if he says it's impossible, then it becomes impossible.
Gotcha.
He worked on the inside. He knows the business, in my opinion, better than anybody. And if there's somebody that's more lenient when they can't for some reason, in my experience in talking to him, he'll point out why somebody else can do it or can't do it. And again, It's not a function of whether or not it's legally required or not. That's the misnomer. It's whether the title company wants the business and the risk of that particular case or not. And so sometimes they'll require something to make them feel comfortable that even though the bad guy, even though he legally has no title, they don't want him to sue anyhow because then they have to defend themselves. Right? One of the things my father, of blessed memory, taught me, an attorney, he said, anybody can sue anybody for anything. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but anybody can go to the courthouse and file the paper. It's funny. In fact, literally, I met this guy. He approached me when I was at the courthouse last year. I guess it's over a year now, right? Over a year ago. And the guy's crazy. The guy is literally crazy. And he has a story of him being, I don't want to say his name, one of the most important people in history. That's him. And he has the rights to all the land in North America. And he's crazy. And he's filed a probate court case that literally the probate sale, or I should say the petition to sell the probate court is going on tomorrow at LA County Probate Court. And I track all the sales and it's a nice, big, huge building, office building. I have people call me, all the time, hey, give me office buildings. And this is a big, multi-million-dollar piece of property. This guy's trying to shake loose somebody, and I guess hopefully they're going to write him a check to go away. So they make it swim for anything. And the title company, even though you might be right that they legally have what they need, you can be right about that. They're not going to insure title. And so one of my other coaches taught me a long time ago, you can be right or you can be rich, but you can't be both. I'd say this also. Who are the calls married? Just real quick, show of hands. In fact, I say more than men. Who are the married men here who are married? Tell me if this is right. You can be right or you can be married. You can't be both. True or false? Right? My wife says she married Mr. Right. Mr. Always freaking right. It's because I'm always right. That's just between us. She can't hear me. So again, to your point, this is William, right? The question on the title?
Yes.
And we talked about this, didn't we, William? I don't mean to call you out, but come on. We talked about this already.
Well, but what I've learned though is it's not necessarily the title rep, because I've
Right.
escalated this
rep.
to the manager. So it's not necessarily it's the decision maker. It's the owner of the company.
It's the rep. It's the
It's
underwriter.
not even Kevin. It's not Kevin. You know what I mean? He's good for information, but what I've learned from this experience, it's the actual company and the decision maker and the title officer behind the title rep that pushes it through management to get the decision.
Yeah, it's the underwriter. And the underwriter's job is to know and underwrite the risk. And he has a book of business and he's judged on how much of that has problems or doesn't. So it's the underwriter who makes the decision. What I will say is that, and one of the problems in probate, it is so litigious. And what I will say in other title cases, I've gotten things approved that other title companies won't, because like liens that popped up that were small and old, I've had title companies overlook them because in those days I was getting business from a great commercial downtown LA bank, and we're doing big numbers and high quality business, and they knew the players, they knew the bank, and for a smaller deal, they're willing to take some risks because there's a book of business that they're making money on. As I say to them all the time, it's title insurance. It's not title certificates. You know, it's insurance. There's a risk involved here, or else we wouldn't need you to pay for this. But they don't want to take any risks that they know of. They're only going to accept risks that they're not aware of. But the truth is, if you do enough business with them, or your company does enough business with them, and you earn some trust with them, they know you'll back up. They know who the players are. And the players aren't litigious, they'll cut you some slack. If the players are litigious, they don't want to take any chances because even if they're right, they don't want to be sued. But I will tell you, it's not the rep, but the rep takes the case to the underwriter. And I think Kevin will get you an answer on that, or tell you what to give you a game plan on that. Pretty lickety split, in my opinion. And I would say, do I think that would go through? I think there's a solution there that you're missing.
Yeah. It's just I've never been in a deal where the title they said we're not insuring title. This is my first time experiencing it. I'm like, oh wow, that's
no. Yeah,
so,
it's not your insuring. It's what are you going to do to insure the title? Like,
right.
That's your job. Just tell me what I need to get. We'll get it for you. It's not your job to say you're going to do it or not do it. If you say you're not doing it, you don't want my business, right? We're going to insure a title. What do you need to insure the title? What documents do we need? What procedures do we need? That's their job. When they start telling you they're not going to insure it, they're really saying they don't want your business. And look, probate's tough business. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart title companies either. And companies want easy, clean, fast, high volume, business. And different underwriters have different books of business. You got to find an underwriter who's willing to take some chances on your business to a degree. So, anyhow, that's my 2 cents on that.
Thanks, Bill.
A pleasure, William. Good luck, man. Is this the property in Fraser Park?
Oh, are you cut out?
Are we talking about the property in Fraser Park?
Yes, sir.
Just today I swim, my picture in the background, at El Segundo Pool. And on the far end of the pool, which is actually underneath my side of the pool, the showers were closed. We had to use the outside shower, but there was the pretty blonde gal in the skimpy bikini taking the shower next to me. And And she told me that as we're talking, I'm chatting her up. No, I'm a married man. I'm not going anywhere with him. Just having some fun. But turns out she had just moved. She lives in Fraser Park, and she swims.
Oh, wow.
Of all places. I said, well, that's so funny because I just looked at a listing yesterday at Fraser Park, and wow, those are some great mountain views. And that's gonna be some fresh air up there. So good luck with getting this.
Thank you, buddy.
Excellent. Who else has got question, challenge, problem we can help you guys with today? The probate real estate doctor. I'm here to help solve your problems. Who's got a problem I can help with? William Holmes on the call. Is that William Holmes I used to work with in down Orange County?
No, I'm from New York.
Different William
I'm
Holmes.
new. I'm new to the call.
Okay, well, I knew another William Holmes, but what part of New York are you from?
Well, I grew up in the city in the Bronx, but I live in Long Island.
Got it. And do you know where? How far are you from Plainview on Long Island?
About 10 minutes away or
Got it.
less.
My daughter's married to a young guy from Plainview. So I think the biggest claim to blame of Plainview is they have a bagel boss.
Okay.
I like the bagel boss, man. I'm New York. I keep kosher, so but bagel boss is the bomb for sure. Good. So how can we help you? Any questions you have, or just checking in?
No, I'm just checking in. I'm new
Okay.
to this and I want to learn, so I'm listening.
Great. And you're a real estate agent or investor, or what do you do?
More of an investor, wholesaler and an investor.
Got it. So how do you find properties to wholesale and invest in?
It varies. I mean, between various programs I list on and, from Connect, investors to various other gurus in the business, to friends and realtors, sometimes refer to me different properties. And so I do my, due diligence and check them out.
Excellent. Tell me about working with, it's interesting because on this call we have some realtors and we have some investors. Tell me about working with the realtors. Do you have a particular activity to generate talking to realtors, or are you just saying along the way you meet some and you talk some business?
Well, as far as business concerned for realtors,
well, let me ask a question another way. I mean, I was kind of vague. I actually work with some investors and wholesalers who actually have, lead generation systems that I help them with. I'll give them the data for example. So I'll get data on pre-probates, probate data, and also kind of work with their salespeople and coach them up a little bit on that. Do you do anything informally with real estate agents, or is it just more informal? You look at deals from time to time.
more informal. There's some realtors look at us as somewhat competitors in some respects, because our job is to find property at a cheaper rate, and they want to sell it at market rate sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so their discussion sometimes navigate to, well, why don't you, if I have clients, like I'll consult, and if I have a client then I need to find some comps and some data, I may call them up and saying, you have any comps on this location? And they'll say, well, why don't you send a client to me? Why are they coming to you? And there are a couple of agents that we just share information.
So I'll just say that for me, my business, first off, I find properties that need investors to buy them and fix and flip. And so I work with investors almost every day. And part of why I had this phone call is to meet investors and in your case, in New York, if there's a realtor or two that you think might help here, coming on my call, learning about how to work probate, me coaching them up. We're actually expanding into New York, for example, and some of these other markets. But I think that there's real estate industry, your success is built on your ability to interact with other people.
Yes.
And while it's true, you might be a competitor on some deals. It's also true that we can work together, I think, on a lot more. And if we focus on that part, we both make some money. That's the part I want to focus on.
Well, that's what I'm doing. That's exactly right. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Good. Well, I think I'm going to be in New York in June for a week because I have a wedding, 2 weddings, 8 days apart. And my plan is to stay there in the middle and do this kind of a call live version in New York. So we'll hope to get a chance to meet you If not before, at least on the phone. If I can help with anything, feel free to reach out. But maybe we can meet up then.
I look forward to that. I greatly appreciate that offer, and hopefully we can talk soon. And while you come into New York, making sure you go to the right places, especially the bagel places in the city. But in terms of some deals, that would be great.
Well, I'm Jewish. We're pretty well hooked up on the bagel places. I'm looking for in kosher though. New York is like the mecca of kosher food, so I'm looking.
Yes,
yes. Yeah, you guys have some really good stuff. Excellent, thanks. And then I see a question from Vicky. Hey, Vicky, how you doing? And Vicky's question is, how can we find, and the phrase she uses, inherited property. So tell me, Vicky, tell me more about your question. Where are you getting the term from, and what do you think you're looking for?
Oh, okay, because I was reading about obviously probate and things like that and how to find properties. And I think one of the authors of something said you can find inherited properties because
Sure.
those are good probate leads, could be good probate leads. So I was just wondering, because I don't know where to find those.
So inherited properties is an interesting term. If you think about it, somebody passes and leaves you property,
Right.
by definition, in California, you need a probate to transfer the property if it's worth more than $150,000 or more. Below that, there's a short version, but technically that's a probate. The term inherited properties, I saw, I want to say a documentary, I think it was 60 Minutes. I saw it online. But in particular, the topic of inherited properties in the South, and it really is probate, but really what it is 2 or 3 generations of property being passed down. So grandpa had a property and had 8 kids, and then 8 kids got the property, and 50 years later, those 8 kids have on average 5 each. Now you got 40 different people with various percentage of the property. And the problem is that when you have multiple people, some look at it as, hey, for a couple $1,000, I'm happy. And others look at it as the legacy of their family. In some of these cases, in this documentary, I think it was Georgia, it could have been Mississippi, but somewhere in the deep South, these are properties that people got when they were freed as slaves, like in the 1860s, I guess. And really, it wasn't that long ago, right? That's 150 years, but maybe 100 years ago. And so 2 or 3 generations, it passes and gets split up. And some of these people lived on the property, but then once the pieces got broken up, investors would buy up the pieces, get a majority, or force the sale. We call it here in California a partition action. Even for minority, you can force somebody to either pay you your share or sell the property and split up the money proportionally. And the idea was that these investors that were buying these inherited properties were taking advantage of these poor, mostly, and it was kind of sad. Progeny generations of these people who got, I guess 40 acres and a mule or whatever the process was, that was in their family for 100 years, all of a sudden is being bought at piecemeal and sold to investors. And you could say that's capitalism, and you could also say that that's too harsh. And this documentary made the point that it was done in a way that was harsh and sad. I think that what's clearly true is that when people leave the decision of how to manage their estate to the county, it definitely interrupts generational wealth. And I think you can make a very strong case here in Southern California, in LA, that I think, I hope I'm coming across as racist, I don't think it is, or political, but probate is disproportionately African American in LA County. I mean, if you just sit in the courtroom and add people's and pay attention, and unfortunately, this is wealth of people who were, grandma, grandpa, and great grandma, great grandpa had these properties, and that money is being paid out to the court and court fees, attorneys and attorneys fees, 2 siblings fighting each other in court, and the pennies being split up at the end. And so I think the term inherited property is common in other states, but it's also used to identify this problem that families' generational wealth isn't being protected and handed down, and how do we approach it? And I'll say on a personal level, as a lifetime Californian other than 2 years and lifetime out Los Angelino other than 2 years. It's heartbreaking to see what's happened to our city and county in some regards. And I do my best, and I'll do it on this call from time to time, promoting avoiding probate by creating living trusts. And we have too many attorneys in LA County, and we don't have enough providers of living trust services at competitive rates. And attorneys will say often, well, these companies that do them cheap are no good. And I'll say, in my experience, 95% of the living trusts, even the bad ones, are better than no probate, than no living trust at all. So anybody who's interested in that issue, I'm certainly glad to talk to you about how can we help our city, county, offer families a way to protect their generational wealth by avoiding probate. I don't want to sell houses and watch families torn apart. I'd much rather help them protect their assets and build wealth and make a healthier city and healthier county. So if anybody's motivated to get involved in that, why is there not, can I go on soapbox for a second? Anybody have a problem with this topic? Is it getting a little sensitive here? Why is there not a nonprofit that maybe through churches or just in general offers free living trusts, basic living trusts? And then people who need them are told, hey, we can't write you one because yours isn't basic. You need an attorney. At least let them know that ahead of time. Why is it so many people end up in court, having the court decide to sell their house? I don't understand. Beyond me.
May I ask a question?
Sure, Roger, go ahead.
Sure. Well, two things on that topic. You know, my license, my commission by the Secretary of State as a notary is being renewed. So I'm going to be able to be at the court and offer free notary service to those families, which is a great way to meet them. But
Yes.
the question that I have is, I saw one of your videos and you had mentioned that back in the day, you used to spend 3 hours a day making calls. And the question is, what hours did you find the best to do that?
You know, one of my favorite topics as a coach, I would get asked all the time, is what's the best time to cold call? Great question. Anybody else besides Roger interested in that question? What's the best time to cold call? So I have two answers. Number one is the best time to cold call is the time you cold call. I had a couple of yeses there, which sounds arrogant, but you know, so many people have great plans and don't ever do it. And so I would coach people and they say, well, I want to do it in the morning. I want to do it in the evening. I want to do it in the afternoon. I'm going to do it on Saturdays. I'd say, well, look, here's the deal. You need to do 3 hours a day, 5 days a week is 15 hours. I don't care when you do it. And I don't really care if you don't do it. It's just you're not going to achieve your goals. If you're going to tell me that you're going to do it all on Friday for 8 hours and Saturday, for example, just track it. And if you get it done, good for you. You'll build enough business for the whole week. It's just nobody does it. Nobody will ever do that. And so I can just tell you in my career real estate in 36 years, the only people I ever met who did lead generation 3 hours or more a day did it first thing in the day. Everyone. If they're door knockers, they would door knock. And I see people door knock. Sometimes people door knock at 7 because they want to get in 3 or 4 hours. And that's the time they have to start to do that when there's sunlight and when there's no COVID. As a cold caller on the phone, I would role play 7:30 to 8, and I would call from 8 to 12 every day. And when I say 8 to 12, the process I use, an hour is really 15 minutes of work and 10 minutes of break time. 10 minutes to stand up, and even if I need to, go to the bathroom, walk around, put water in my face, get a drink, move around, go back. 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off. I would do that 4 times a day, Monday through Friday. Did that for years. And if you, my experience is if you don't do it first thing, now you could start at 8:30, you could start at 9. That's about it. You don't start by 9 o'clock. I've never met anybody who started after that, whoever got it done. So the truth I would say is you better be starting at 8 o'clock or 8:30, or you're not really going to get to it. In my experience, I've never, if you know, here's one. If you know somebody who prospects 3 hours a day, tracks their numbers, has done it, let's say, for 90 days or more, put in the chat box or call me or text me, tell me who they are. I'd like to call them and meet them. They'd be the first person in my career out of thousands of people that did it. I don't believe there's one. You know, I used to say this. When I started this business, I got into Mike Ferry's coaching program, which was great for fundamentals. And I would say that if you're new in the business, you should follow the Mike Ferry system for your first 2 years or so till you get to $100,000 a year minimum gross income. Great program for that. Once you get to that, it's a little hardcore. And I would tell people, I've met thousands of people who did a certain amount of business, did Mike Ferry for a year or two, and did more business afterwards. I never met anybody who started at a certain level, took Tom Ferry's program, and did more. Now, I imagine there are some. I'm open to the possibility. And if there's anybody on this call me out right now. Text me, let me know. I did Tom Ferry, and it helped me increase my business 25, 30%. Entertaining, great ideas, great information, absolutely. I hired Tom. I was one of the first people to hire him when I was in the mortgage business 30 years ago. So when I say stuff to you guys, I'm not selling a coaching program. I'm not talking on the competition. I'm just saying from my experience, I never met anybody who cold called 3 hours a day or more who didn't do it first thing in their day. If you know somebody who has, please let me know. I'll meet them, and at least I'll say I met one. If you think you're going to be that one, Roger, I'm telling you, that's hard to do. Why not just follow what the others do that do it successfully? And I've met thousands who cold called every day who started at 8 or 8:30 or maybe 9 and did it at that. Long answer. I know Tomas, I think you had a question? No? Somebody else had a question. Did I answer your question, Roger?
Absolutely, and I will be that one.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Okay, we got about 3 minutes left here before I wrap up. I have a 5 o'clock networking call I do every week. We've got to generate some more business. Anybody else have any questions, challenges, problems we can resolve with today? At 10, nice to see you.
You know, I do have one other question, if I may.
Please. We'll wrap up with you.
I was at the court on Tuesday. I was looking up, files, and there was a case on Tuesday for a probate, hearing that had been filed like over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it's not that uncommon. I can tell you that right now, scheduled for court confirmation sale in March is a probate case that was filed in 2006. That's 15 years ago.
Right.
And tomorrow, scheduled for court confirmation sale is a property that I have an investor for. We were going to go to it tomorrow. I think my investor passed out in 2008. That's 13 years ago. So when people tell you timeline, I can tell you this. I track every sale in LA County. So I know the actual numbers, and I track every case in LA County to pull the data. And I can tell you that there are not probates. They're closing inside 12 months. They just aren't. They take longer than 12 months. COVID added 3 or 4 months minimum from the filing date to your first hearing date. But even still, there's none closing in a year and 3 or 4 months. It's just they all take longer than that. I don't know why. I'm not saying it should be. I'm not saying attorneys are bad because of that, but I can just tell you what the data says. The data says if you file probate, you're not closing it in less than a year and a half. And on average, probably 2 years.
Well, thank you so much, Bill,
My
and
pleasure,
have a great
Roger.
evening.
Thanks, Roger. Hey, all you guys, I do a call on Tuesday at 3 p.m. And if you're interested in that, you can call me, text me, email me. I'm glad to always help with that. My website is the LAProbateExpert.com. And if you go to the LA Probate Expert, you'll see there on the far right resources. That's really weird. My website is not taking the LAProbateExpert.com. There we go. And on the right side, you see resources, and I have a probate call and a real estate flipping wholesale call for wholesale investors because I work with William. I work with wholesale investors every day, man. That's how I make a living. I couldn't imagine working without you guys. So I'm glad to help. And please, I sent out the link on the YouTube. Please, If you watch the YouTube, please like it or don't like it as appropriate. Put down comments, how to make it better. If you subscribe to the channel, I appreciate it. We're trying to build this. Vendors will come on this call and give you guys opportunities for some freebies if we can continue to build this call. So we're getting up to about 100 people a week between participants and the YouTube views. So I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the week. And if I can help, please give me a call. Thank you.